have spent significant sums of expensive pesticide will now have to dig deeper into their pockets to prevent this disease-carrying pest from making its way into their kitchen table. The latest threat to our food security, brothers and sisters, is the Tuta absoluta, also known as the tomato leaf miner. It is a pest that has been ravaging through the crops indiscriminately. While farmers have been told to report their presence to the Ministry of Agriculture, in order to eradicate the pest, farmers are also told that their infected crops must be destroyed. Now I ask the Minister of Agriculture, what kind of compensation plan do you have in place for when farmers have to cut down their crops because of the presence of this pest? You know, this uncaring ministry has said none. They have not taken compensation into consideration as yet, brothers and sisters. How can you tell farmers that they have to destroy the produce of their toil and investment, their blood, sweat, and tears, without giving any incentive and encouragement to do so? That is because elections have consequences, and we have a PNM government right now who have lost touch with the citizens of the country. Brothers and sisters, they are completely out of touch with the reality of what is happening. I want to quickly turn to the issue of the bridge in the constituency of Couva North, brothers and sisters. The Rupsing Road Bridge in Karapichaima, for which I made continuous representation, incurred severe damages last week as a result of the heavy rainfall and the high volume of water passing through. The foundation has been compromised and the concrete base broke apart. We had swift action with the regional corporation and Councillor Dubraj Prasad to clear the rubble from the watercourse and assess the damages. However, the tonnage have been reduced from 10 tons to now 5 tons. Tonight, I want to use this as an opportunity to once again call upon local government Minister Faris Alwari to act urgently and keep the promise made in Parliament during the Standing Finance Committee when I questioned you on that bridge, and have a permanent bridge installed for the residents of Rupsing Road, my brothers and sisters. One final matter I wish to raise on behalf of the people that I serve, my brothers and sisters, is the Community Water Improvement Project in the Brickfield area. This project was supposed to have been completed months ago, but despite the world of promises and commitment made by the Public Utilities Minister Marvin Gonzalez in no less a place than the People's Parliament, this project has not yet started. This issue is beyond disappointing and is now vexatious. The people of Brickfield Village have been receiving WASA bills for dry taps. Yet when the rain comes, the entire constituency is flooded out. It's very sad and unfortunate, brothers and sisters, that month after month, they keep promising this project. We approve the funding, and they are not using the funds for the benefit and to improve the quality of lives of our citizens. So, brothers and sisters, as my time is limited, in concluding, I want to say that we have seen your memes, your TikTok, your Instagram reel, your Facebook posts exposing the wickedness, heartlessness, and cluelessness of this Rowley-led PNM. Keep them coming and do not let up, my brothers and sisters. Let us keep calling out the PNM on their lies and deception. Let us not be afraid of them, because I tell you today, what is yet to come may be 10 times worse than what they have put us through so far. There is no future for our beloved country under this Rowley PNM. The only future and the only hope for TNT is for us to unite under the leadership of the best Prime Minister we have ever seen. Caring and compassionate she is, the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Long live our political leader, long live our great party, the United National Congress, and may God bless Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you, my brothers and sisters.
People crying out for justice. Some of them crying out for freedom. Want freedom. Everybody crying out for democracy. Now it's time to take a stand, yeah. Come on! Cause this is the revolution, the people's revolution.
Yes, MP Ravi Ratiram. Thank you for your inspiring and emotional contribution tonight, and for reminding us about our change in lifestyle. Our lives have been drastically changed, and tonight you have reminded us. But I know this time when the change is going to change for the betters. Thank you, MP. Tonight, I want to introduce to this vibrant podium a good-looking, handsome red man. Yes, he is a man, and they call him the warrior of the UNC. And when you are called a warrior, you worries everything. I can imagine how many things this young man have worried in his life. You hear me? I know about worries though, right? Tonight I want to introduce to the podium a well-known businessman, a long-serving United National Congress warrior. And when I look at him in the Senate, I see licks like fire, licks like peas. The man is beating up himself and he's worrying the Senate. That is the man. Yes, and I'm pleased and I'm proud and I'm delighted tonight, my brothers and sisters, to bring to this podium a vibrant, young, again, handsome, none other than Senator Damian Lydon. Let's give it up to him.
I want to hear everybody sing. Everybody sing freedom. Man and woman sing freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Everybody sing. As we move in this people's revolution, my brothers and sisters, let's all walk together as one. This revolution is about restoring our democracy. And this revolution is about...
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Oh God, after all of that, I'm real worried now, boy. $535 murders and climbing. Heading towards a record 600 murders for the year or more. Youths fighting in an open brawl in Movie Town, where your children go, where your wife, your husband and your girlfriend go, and where your parents go to have a night out, with police can't even control it. Murders in front of Starbucks, where you go to hold a meeting, or you're studying for your exams in UE. People holding submachine guns, AR-15s, and gunning down security guards in broad daylight in the middle of a road to thief money. High-powered rifles sounded in the distance near a primary school on the hills of Lavantil. And what we have is a Minister of National Security who comes to you when those children are cowering on the ground, on the cold concrete. And the teacher is trying to keep them calm. This sleeping minister, who is high on sativa, high on life of sativa, is telling you that those children and that teacher is overreacting. Telling you that that gunfire was happening 200 meters away. But all you have to do is just open the Google and see that an AR-15 can kill from more than 600 meters away. So how were those children overreacting? Citizens' homes are underwater. Millions of dollars in losses in private property. And farmers losing millions of dollars in crops. We saw what happened in Sandy Grande. And it's my pleasure to see the councillors and aldermen of Sandy Grandy who are with us here tonight, who have been fighting to help the people without funding, without financing, and calling upon the private sector to assist when a government has failed. All of this while a prime minister, after evading the serious issues such as Nelson Gate, with another COVID fit again, opts to enjoy a game of golf as his first matter of business out. This is your government at work. This is how the government tells you, we love you so, we take good care of you, only the PNM have a plan. That is what the government is doing to you. This is how the government reacts when you go and sign your name with a golden Balize pen. You made that decision to put that most uncaring prime minister and ultimately a most incompetent government in charge of your future, your children's future. When you were marching left foot, right foot, Balize, the PNM was cutting your education. The PNM failed, and now we're seeing rising murders. You were marching, Stuart Young was marching with 2 left foot. It was 2 left foot be chatting. The PNM failed you with poor infrastructure and bad roadways, and we saw it here tonight. The PNM has failed you with the collapse of the health sector, and that is why you cannot get a bed in a hospital. They have failed you when it came to creating jobs. When my brother Victor Roberts, who is fighting against MP McClashy, who is on record saying it's not his job to give you a job, but he's the Minister of Labour. He's the Minister of Labour. Brothers and sisters, but everybody quiet. The media quiet. The chambers of commerce, with the exception of the Shagawana chambers of commerce, where that chairman spoke up about the crime, everybody's silent. It's a silence across the nation. I say to you tonight, you need to get up and stand up. The UNC can't do it alone. We need your support. Open your mouths. Many families are going to face a bleak Christmas this year. Whilst the Minister of Social Development blames public servants for some $50 million stolen from her ministry, this is the millions of dollars that could have been used to help feed thousands of families and provide them with basic foodstuff during this Yuletide season. And the only honest thing coming out of this PNM is that Minister of Public Utilities, where he was very honest and said to you, no macaroni for you and no ham this Christmas. That's what he told you. But we love you, so we take good care of you. Minister Donna Cox, dressing up in she Sunday dress to impress she leader, I guess. She hair nicely done. Blaming public servants for corruption in the food card program. And at the same time, the Minister Donna Cox and a leader fails to investigate their own house. Because when we saw PNM officials in Tobago who boasted about distributing food cards right before a THA election. Just last November, the PNM THA candidate for Bonaccord Crown Point, Clarence Jacob, boasted about distributing hundreds of food cards. All you remember that? PNM Clarence Jacob was reported to then claim, and listen, I saw it in the Newsday on November the 9th, 2022, that signing them food cards, there was no corruption in that. But in the same article, we see the fraud squad quoting in that article to the PNM Tobago Assemblyman that this indeed provides the opportunity for fraud. Do you think this opens the opportunity for fraud, my people? This is the PNM. Then the Minister of Social Welfare does not have to look far to stamp out fraud. All they have to do is call upon a minister and then call on the police to investigate. Brothers and sisters, meanwhile, what they're doing? They're cutting the NAMDEFCO food program. They're cutting the milk grant, the baby grant that Kamala Persad-Bissessar gave to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Any initiative that was needed to help people, to help them feed themselves, those who fall below the poverty line, has been cut, slashed, and burned, like we see the forest burning today. But the government tells you, weed yourself off, the government. That's their solution. We saw them cut the school feeding program. The government, under the former Minister of Social Welfare, boasted that they cut some 18,000 persons from the food card program of citizens. But when it comes to the friends and family, contract passing like rain. The minister of finding any of that money getting into the pockets of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. The government has slashed the fuel subsidy. So they're bringing in 11 billion, but they cut the fuel subsidy, raising fuel about 6 times now. More than double the increase in fuel since this government came into power. When Kamala Persad-Bissessar was in power between 10 and 15, she never raised the price of fuel, not even once. I just wonder, all this cutting, if the ministers and them feel that everybody greedy and not needy in this country. But the government is boasting about this $11 billion. Yet people are not feeling better. This is the first government in the history of Trinidad and Tobago that when we have an oil boom, people suffering more. There are parents that are facing Christmas without knowing whether they could continue to send their children to school because they can't afford taxi fare that is going up. Can they afford school books and uniforms? Yet silence from the government. There are parents who are still waiting for some 6,000 companies to reopen because we know that 6,000 small and micro businesses shut down in August of last year, up to August of this year, when this government put the most draconian and unscientific COVID lockdown that we've seen across the world. There are young persons that are graduating from tertiary facilities and they have nowhere to get a job. And the situation is so desperate that there are doctors today that cannot find a job under this PNM. But if Kamala Persad-Bissessar was still in power today, she would have opened the Couva Children's Hospital and she would have provided jobs for doctors. She would have provided jobs for nurses. She would have provided jobs for orderlies. She would have provided jobs for admin staff. That is what would have happened. But this government so don't even care about children. Not only did they not open that hospital and waited for a pandemic to do it, but this prime minister and his cabinet so wicked, with no love in their heart for children, they pulled down the children's sign. That would have been an income earner for this country, foreign exchange that is in scarcity today. When we would have had medical tourism, we would have been the epicenter of medical tourism. No vision. Over 100,000 persons, on the other hand, have lost their jobs under this government. And as a result of the increase in food prices, it makes it even worse, brothers and sisters. Just last month, the CEO of Mirage Westside Supermarket stated that people, honest, decent people, are now shoplifting. This government is pushing the population against the wall. When honest, law-abiding people look at their children and see them crying with hunger, in desperation, are forced to take this route. Yet, the government running down legal firearm holders. That's what they opt to do. This is what is happening. This is real. But instead of jumping into action, the government continuously boasts about this $11 billion. and cannot help these families eradicate hunger. A supermarket owner stated, and I quote, "I am talking about decent people shoplifting because they have no alternative." The government was warned by us in the opposition that we need to take immediate steps to arrest the increase in food prices, but they continue to blame external factors when right here they can do things. They could start off by removing VAT from 7,000 food items that Kamala Persad-Bissessar did between 2010 and 2015. And they didn't have to look far. If the Prime Minister wanted a ramage and gallery in agriculture in Guyana, he could have asked the Guyanese president and other places what they did. Because what they did was, they charged duties on old shipping prices, not on the high shipping prices today. That is what they did. They thought outside of the box on how to help with the increase in food prices. Brothers and sisters, the government doesn't have any idea how to control the food prices. In fact, what did the government do? They came to this population in 2019. And at the beginning of 2020, and you know what they did? They increased duties on macaroni, a basic food item, from 20% to 40%. And if that wasn't good enough to help one of our only partner, they come back in 2021 to increase duties on imported macaroni from 40% to 60%, giving an unfair protection. No other basic item in this country has that level of protection. And we asked the Minister of Trade in the Senate, why would you single out macaroni of all things? Why, when milk is 40% duties, when flour produced by national flour mills is 25% duties, when juice is 20 to 40% duties, yet you come and put 60% duties? We warned the government, you will form a monopoly and the price of macaroni will increase. So I call on the government, that 60% duty is expiring in December. And I call on this government, if you really want to lower the price of food, remove that protection of that 60% and put it back to 20%. Brothers and sisters, I am running out of time. I'm running out of time. If I had enough time, I would have spoken about CLICO. That's for another time. But we want to put the government notice we're watching them. We want to know, when are you giving the CLICO shareholders back their company? Are they going to be solvent by December of this year? Is the central bank in breach of the law? Mr. Hilaire, you must tell us, speak up and tell us if you in contravention to the law. Because if that company is solvent, you must return it to the stock shareholders. And if it is returned to the shareholders, and you reunited with CL Financial, is the CL Financial Group now solvent? And if so, stop your liquidators from trying to sell the assets. We saw it in the papers with Trinity Mall, and we know that you are priming to sell True Value. So my brothers and sisters, we just asked those questions about CLICO. You must let us know. And as I close, this will not be a bright Christmas for thousands of households across this country. The only light at the end of the tunnel for citizens who are on the margins is the day that this government gets the cojones to call a fresh elections and let us remove this government with our voting finger and let us put back Kamala Persad-Bissessar as the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. We have the plans to take the country forward. We created 55,000 jobs between 2010 and 2015, and we'll do it again. We attracted more than $48 billion in foreign direct investment, while this government had an attrition, exiled $10 billion. We'll bring it back again. We ensured that families were supported with grants for education, and we will do that again, and we will give them back their laptops. So, brothers and sisters, under Kamala Persad-Bissessar, our nation will be restored to that paradise we were between 2010 and 2015. Long live Kamala Persad-Bissessar. Long live the United National Congress. And long live the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you.
Come on, people.
Peoples are turning, your eyes are opening. Welcome to the revolution.
People crying out for justice. Some of them crying out for freedom.
Thank you very much, Senator Damian, for bringing all those issues before us tonight. We know for a fact that this country is under siege, and we are seeing it every day, every single day. Tonight, it is my honor to welcome our next speaker to this platform. He is currently serving his second term as a UNC Member of Parliament and is a successful businessman. His presentation articulate and well-researched. He is also the Shadow Minister of Trade and Industry. He has a passion for people. He's not afraid to bring the issues to the front burner. He is indeed an MP with a mission. Tonight, let's welcome to this virtual platform, MP Rushton Parry.
Now it's time to take a stand, yeah.
Come on! Cause this is the revolution. The people's revolution. This is the revolution.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good night, my UNC family. Senator Lyda spoke for 15 minutes and I get tired. Let's give Senator Lyda a round of applause again, please. Thank you to our wonderful speakers who came before me. You guys were fantastic tonight. My parliamentary colleagues, senators, councillors and aldermen, NATEX members, our loyal foot soldiers and party activists, members of the media, and of course, I want to say a special thank you to our leader, the woman who is going to save our beloved country when she becomes the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. My UNC family, as you know, I hail from the beautiful constituency of Mayaro. And over the weekend, when it became known that I was carded to speak here tonight, many of my constituents reached out to me. Parry, when you speak on Monday night, let the entire country know one thing, that the people of Mayaro are fed up with this wicked, corrupt, and useless Rowley PNM government. They say, Parry, tell Rowley, the people of Mayaro say we need real leadership. Trinidad and Tobago needs leadership of the UNC under Kamala Persad-Bissessar, and tell them Mayaro say so. Brothers and sisters, Keith Rowley has taken our nation to the edge of an abyss. Murders have now crossed over 535, and that was the last figure at writing, and I suspect by the time I done talk tonight, it might be 540. I am sure it is going to increase before the night is over. And where is Dr. Keith Rowley? He's busy playing golf. We are on track to record over 600 murders this year, the highest in our country's history. Some people have told me that Dr. Rowley is like the Roman Emperor Nero. While all of Rome was burning from a devastating fire, Nero was busy playing his fiddle, hence the expression, fiddling while Rome burns. Murders are on track to reach the highest rate in our history, and Keith Rowley is busy playing golf and complaining about the West Indies cricket team on Facebook. But you know, I do not believe Keith Rowley is like Nero. Keith Rowley is like another emperor called Caligula. Caligula was a mad emperor. He was so mad that he promoted his horse to a general in the army. But I telling you, Rowley madder than this man. Dr. Rowley has made his donkey the Minister of National Security. I argue that our economy is in shambles. Dr. Rowley has reduced this once proud energy sector into a scrap iron industry. And the man even so bad, he shut that down too. How much crazier and irrelevant as a leader of a country can you get? Thousands of businesses have closed, as Senator Leida said. Hundreds of thousands of families are now living on the breadline. The last estimate, there were 200,000 citizens of this country who are living on the poverty line. And we have a prime minister who has completely abandoned his job and the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Dr. Rowley, golf is a game that is loved by those in retirement. And since you clearly are in retirement mode, just do the nation a favor and call the damn election and step down. Call the election and let a real leader, Kamla Prasad Bisesa, take this country forward. My friends, I want to talk tonight about a very serious issue now. Recently, the United States government issued a very damning travel advisory on Trinidad and Tobago. Now allow me to read a few lines from it. Trinidad and Tobago raised to level 3. What does this mean? Reconsider travel to Trinidad and Tobago due to crime. Exercise increased caution in Trinidad and Tobago due to terrorism and kidnapping. Well, that first paragraph says it all. But it goes on, ladies and gentlemen. It goes on to say that in Trinidad and Tobago, you will experience violent crime, such as murder, robbery, assault, sexual assault, home invasion, and kidnapping is common. And this is not the UNC saying this, you know. This is the United States government through its States Department. Gang activity such as narcotics trafficking is common. A significant portion of violent crime is gang related. This is very serious, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine if you are a US citizen and you are looking for some way to spend your vacation or a country to invest your business in, the first thing you would do is go and check the US State Department advisory. And what you're going to find under Trinidad and Tobago is reconsider travel. What reconsider mean? Don't go. What tourist or investor will feel confident to travel to a country when its State Department is telling them violent crime such as murder, robbery, assault, sexual assault, home invasion, and kidnapping is common? But you know, to all of us here in Trinidad and Tobago, we already know that. We know that we have to think long and hard to decide whether we will go out with our families tonight, anywhere in Trinidad and Tobago. As Senator Leida said, they're shooting in front of Starbucks. That is the state of our country. Local business owners know that unless they can afford to install 100 CCTV camera and pay through your teeth for security, you may as well close down the business and go home. Because you do not have a fighting chance against the bandits in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States is by far and large our biggest trading partner. And this advisory is yet another devastating blow to our economy. And as usual, the PNM regime has said nothing about it. I hear Rowley saying next year, we will see the mother of all carnival. Well, unless tourists come from another planet. Well, we ain't no way you get all them people from. That will be the mother of all lies. You know, last year, a businessman from Chaguanas was brutally murdered outside his business place. And a well-known PNM blogger took to Facebook to say that the businessman was stupid for opening the business too late in the evening. Could you believe, as exposed some time ago, earlier this week or last week, that same PNM blogger is being paid thousands of taxpayers' dollars from this government. 30,000 a month. So the PNM was taking the very same tax dollar that that same businessman who get gunned down, trying to earn a decent living, to pay this blogger to badmouth him while he lying down, dead, in front of the business place. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the PNM way. Shameful. Shameful. My friends, what international investors look for can be summed up in one word: confidence. They want to have the confidence that their investment will be safe. And if any problems arise, they have the confidence that they can rely on strong institutions to work for them. That is, they look for a place where the rule of law is strong, where there is less red tape, where they can access an educated labor force, and where there is long-term economic planning. My friends, all these matrices, T and T, is failing badly. Which investor will have confidence in a legal system where the government's attorney general stands accused of acting miles outside of the law in drafting an indemnity for a state witness in a criminal matter? On top of that, no police investigation has been commenced in this matter. How more shameful these independent institutions can get? Which investor can have confidence in an education system where students can record themselves beating a principal and not a word from the Minister of Education? Worse still, which investor can look on at the sight of primary school children ducking from gunfire from gangs while their prime minister is busy golfing and think that's a country? Which investor will think that's a country that I want my business to develop in? Who wants to invest in a nation that is consumed with so much red tape and bureaucracy that you can use it to tie a ribbon around the whole country twice? That is the level of business constriction that we have in Trinidad and Tobago, brothers and sisters. But my friends, the answer is not one investor. That is why we haven't been able to attract one single major FDI project in Trinidad and Tobago in 7 years. And under Kamala Persad-Bissessar, we were attracting approximately $1.5 billion US per year under the Kamala Persad-Bissessar administration. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not only the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago that has lost faith in Rowley, but the whole world has lost faith in Rowley. Brothers and sisters, the ineptitude of Rowley and his cabinet has wrecked our small and medium-sized business sector, causing the shutdown of more than 6,000 businesses, as said by Senator Leida. In all of this, it means that Trinidad and Tobago is losing its middle class. Our middle-income earners are becoming the working poor because they are losing their jobs or their businesses have been forced to close down. Many of them are victims of vicious crimes. Many are putting their homes on the market, fleeing to other countries. We are suffering the worst brain drain since the 1980s, when people abandoned their homes and fled to greener pastures. I remind you that the middle class spends money on goods and services and therefore helps to keep businesses alive and people employed. They are the stirrers of the economy. The loss of a country's middle class is a disturbing step towards the collapse of an economy and the collapse of an entire society, which we are on the brink of. The PNM has destroyed the middle class, and in the process, they've created two classes of people. The wealthy, that is the friends and family and finances of the PNM, and the working poor, which is the rest of it. Those of you who used to be in the middle class may now find yourself as part of the working poor just to pay your bills and keep your head above water. My brothers and sisters, as I conclude, there is not a single area in which the disastrous Rowley government has performed even reasonably well. Not a single one. Rowley has taken Trinidad and Tobago to the doorstep of anarchy, with a small number of armed thugs being permitted to wreak havoc throughout this land. Rowley's legacy would forever be the leader who destroyed this country's social fabric, led the gruesome deaths of thousands of people, and steered us into a grinding poverty, joblessness, and turmoil. He has ruined our goal of a successful small state. He would be remembered as the Prime Minister who created a pull and tug with the United States, our major trading partner and hemispheric ally. History would remember him for destroying the economy and leading to a historic flight of competent professionals and patriotic business people. That, brothers and sisters, is the scorecard of Prime Minister Keith Rowley. My UNC family, this government has collapsed. They have no legislative agenda. They have no accomplishments. And now, they have all gone silent due to the Nelson Gate scandal. A collapsed government will soon lead to a collapsed society. They need to go now more than ever. We need the vision and leadership of the United National Congress. We need the leadership of a true patriot who is fearless and unwavering in her commitment to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, Kamala Persad Bissessa. My brothers and sisters, may God continue to bless our political leader. May God continue to bless the United National Congress. And may God continue to bless Trinidad and Tobago. Good night.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. Let's thank Alderman Gonzalez and Alderwoman Hyacinth Rampersad for cheering tonight. Let's give them a round of applause. Good evening to all of you. Thank you for joining us once again for another virtual report. Let me thank the powerful lineup of speakers we've had here tonight. Senator Damian Lyder, MP Pare, MP Anna Ram, and MP Ravi Ratiram spoke at us earlier, on point, reporting to you as we do from time to time. So every week when I come to this podium to speak, you know, we talk about the PNM, we talk about Keith Christopher Rowley. Well, someone said, look, let's be clear what we are fighting here. We are fighting the RPM, that is the Rowley PNM. Because there are good people in the PNM. You may believe it or not, but there are some good people, as there are some good people in the UNC, as well as some not so good people. So let us make it clear. I don't speak of any specific one of you, but that is what is life about. Life is about people. And sometimes we come in contact with some good human beings. Sometimes some days make us not such a good human being. We might have some, yes, you agree with me. Ms. Holder, she's agreeing. You know, some days are great days and some days are not so great, but we take all in stride. So let us keep focused. Mr. Pandey used to tell us, stay focused on the eye of the bird. And that is the Rowley PNM and Rowley himself. That is where our focus must remain. So let us not get carried away with side trappings and distractions and so on. Let us remain where we must be if we are to rescue Trinidad and Tobago. If we are to rebuild Trinidad and Tobago, we have to move the Rowley PNM out of office as fast as we can. And imagine when this whole country, horrified by the scenes of primary school children, we saw the videos, we saw the photos, ducking under desks in their schoolroom, gunshots ringing out. Rowley got pip. He went totally silent. When every part of Trinidad and Tobago is flooded out, Rowley still has pip. Not a word out of him. When murders have now crossed the Emirates, said it's now 535. The last count I had was 534. 535 and counting, this man still has pip. Over the weekend, he found something to talk about. Over the weekend, he went up, he made a public statement, he posted on Facebook a picture of himself playing golf with a great man, Sir Vivian Richards. And what he talked about? He talked about saving West Indies cricket. Imagine that. After he has collapsed this entire country, he wants to talk about saving West Indies cricket. But let's give our brother Tim Gopi Singh a hands up. Tim gave him a lesson, a thesis about West Indies cricket. So is there something wrong with this man? I mean, flooding gone, crime, roads, infrastructure, everything collapsed. And he come to talk about West Indies cricket. Yes, that is very important to many persons. And I don't mean this flippantly, but his perception of reality is very distorted and impaired. As a Prime Minister of this country, let's look at Rowley golfing there. Do we have the photo, Mr. Tank? That's his first public appearance after how many weeks? First public appearance. And we see that, and then we see side by side the tears of people throughout Trinidad and Tobago. So, no heart, no care for people, totally oblivious to pain and hurt that people are experiencing throughout the land. Worse than any leader ever. Not a care for any one of you, not even for his own PNM persons. Imagine this. He must hold a record for the amount of times anyone has contracted COVID. He couldn't come to Parliament Friday, yet miraculously next morning, as you saw the photo, out, first thing, first line of business, first priority, not about the crime, not about the flooding, not about the suffering. First line of business, Damien, priority, is to go and play golf. And this is so ridiculous. They can't fix crime, they can't fix infrastructure. They want to fix West Indies cricket. Boy, don't touch the cricket. Huh? I think it'll get worse if you only touch it. Now you talk about everything Midas touched into goal. Everything this Rowley touches turns to the exact opposite. I wouldn't tell you what, but you can guess about it. Collapses. Minus touch. Minus touch, David. You're right. So how are you going to do that? The same way he tried to fix Petrotrin by shutting it down. The same way you're fixing crime, but the numbers are going up. The same way you're fixing potholes, nothing. Do you have a plan then to fix West Indies cricket? Does that involve giving Faris and Stewart's family millions in contract? And I heard Arnold spoke tonight about Foster in Indian Trail, and we had raised that before, about works that he was doing there through one of his companies. Last week I shared with you. I didn't see anyone report it. Let me repeat it. In documents filed in the Parliament just a week or two ago, Foster Cummins received $30 million through 3 companies. $30 million, and this was for 1 year, fiscal 2022. $30 million through 3 companies he's associated with, and his wife, or common-law wife, is definitely still on the list of directors. $30 million in 1 fiscal year. In the past, I'd shared monies he had received from other fiscal years during other years and so on. So it's not just Faris and Stewart, their family, benefiting from this government. We see this with Foster Cummins, the blue-eyed boy of the PNM. So how they could get $30 million to pay that, but you can't find money to give CDAP medication. You can't find money to fix the roads, which we heard Arnold speak of it. Several of you spoke tonight about that, the infrastructure. To put medications in the hospitals. You can't find money to do anything to benefit people, but you could pay companies associated with Foster Cummins $30 million in 1 year. So, look, if you think you're going to distract us to go off and talk about West Indies cricket, yes, I'll speak about it only to say, what nonsense are you talking about? You can't do one thing right. So don't even touch the people cricket. Don't touch it. People want elections. They want you to call that election now so we can vote out the Rowley PNM. And we will not let you off the hook. You know, I saw Senator David Naked together with MP Dinesh Rambali delivered an official letter to the Acting Commissioner of Police. So I am not going to let you forget Rowley. We will not let you forget Nelson Gate, because that's what you want us to do. Bam! You talk about cricket, bam! Nelson Gate going out the window, no way. So Naked and Rambali went to visit the Commissioner of Police. They took a letter. And you know, it is said now in our world that this pen is mightier than the sword, any day. And Senator Naked is wielding his pen in the name of truth, justice, and democracy. On Wednesday, Senator Naked and MP Dinesh went to the TTPS. They delivered the letter. They demanded to meet with Jacobs, and they gave him. Here's the video. I would like you to see them when they visited on Friday. Please.
So we are here today to defend our democracy, to stand up in the interest of the rights of Trinidad and Tobago citizenry. We are no longer dealing with a government of laws, you know. We are now dealing with a government of lawless elites. That unlawful action on the part of those who are in governance must be met with lawful resistance.
Then we call upon the police service to investigate whether the former Attorney General, Mr. Al-Rawi, engaged in conduct which was improper and which interfered with Mr. Nelson's free choice to plead guilty or not guilty.
Commend these two gentlemen for taking the fight directly to the Commissioner of Police, acting, Mr. Jacobs, to prove to people in TNT that you are your own man, that you are not a puppet of the PNM, Mr. Jacobs. You must never ever be. You are the acting Commissioner of Police, and therefore we demand that you investigate Rowley and his gang now with respect to this Nelson Gate matter. Seize their laptops, their cell phones, their iPads, their computers now. Let me read a paragraph from that letter delivered to the Commissioner of Police. Dear Mr. Jacob, members of the ruling PNM government perverting the course of justice. The letter states, I am a civic-minded citizen and patriot of TNT, and I believe in preserving and protecting the rule of law. I am also an opposition senator in Parliament, and therefore consider myself duty-bound by oath of office to serve the interest of citizens. Letter continues, in light of my beliefs and oath to serve the people of the Republic, I hereby call upon you to take immediate steps to investigate whether members of the government, including but not exclusive to the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, the Attorney General, Amor, former Attorney General, Faris, Minister Stuart Young, Minister in the Office of the AG, Renuka Sagram Singh, Minister Fitzgerald Hines, whether they have conspired to and or committed the crime of perverting the course of justice and or misbehavior in public office. Senator Naked goes on in the letter to outline the case for an investigation, explaining the entire mounting of evidence in the public domain. Senator Naked, after reading this brilliant letter, the TTPS need to hire you. You have done more work for them, so their investigation should not take too long. And of course, I thank the brilliant lawyers who helped you. I see Kyle is here. I'm sure he helped you this letter as well, Kyle. Thank you. In addition, I understand the Anti-Corruption Bureau has opened investigations into Keith Rowley over the withdrawal of the Police Service Commission's merit list. Again, this was after Naked Senator wrote several letters to the Commissioner of Police. So I asked Mr. Jacob to tell us what is the status of that investigation? And while we are at the Integrity Commission, what is the status of your investigation into the Prime Minister with regard to Inez Gate? You know, we raise these points here and then we forget and we move on to the next one because we get bored because we're speaking to ourselves, but we must never ever forget these things. Never ever forget this is the government that closed Petrotrin. We must never, ever forget that. I was in Palo Seco on Thursday night. Let's congratulate Victor Roberts for opening his office. And very close to that is the velodrome, the Petrotrin velodrome, which is now in total shambles. And when you drive through Palo Seco, Santa Flora, all those areas going further down, that entire place has become a place of abject poverty. Because it was Petrotrin that created the jobs, which kept the businesses, those on the line, the front line and the side line. Those communities depended on Petrotrin. So not only did the people lose their jobs, if you run a little parlor, a tire shop, a repair shop, a mechanic shop, all those hardware, selling some food, selling vegetables, whatever it is, all that has dried up because of the closure of Petrotrin. And I'm sure MP Lee will tell you what has happened in Pointe-à-Pitre as well. I hadn't been down there for a while. It was really painful. I know that area quite well. I had told you I have moved in my lifetime from house to house. I can't even remember. Yes. We didn't have a house, so we had to keep renting and moving from house to house, okay? And so at one point, I lived down there in a place called Quarry Village. And I attended that, the school close to Palo Seco, the Presbyterian school there, the Erin Road Presbyterian School. So I know the area, but it's so painful. But they don't come to see places like that. They want to talk about crime, and where do they go? Big meeting in the Hyatt. Big fancy meeting in the Hyatt to talk about crime. And what are the solutions offered? We still have to wait to see. I'll share some more of my plans with you in a moment. So I just thought I'd mention, I could see the poverty. I could feel it. And you could see the beautiful little children who attended the meeting, so innocent. And you wonder they don't have a care. If they don't care for themselves, at least they just care for the children. And their children to come. We don't live today, we don't own this earth. We don't own anything in this land. We just hold it in trust for the children. We hold it in trust for the children. And so we must provide for them. That is why so many things I did as Prime Minister was for the benefit of children. I think if we were to talk about my legacy as compared to the legacy Parry just gave you for Rowley, my legacy I would like to be is the trust I had towards children and the betterment of education in our country. And whilst I do that and we talk about the persons running our country, we have here a document dated the 8th November 2022, this month, laid in the Parliament in response to questions we had asked in the Parliament, in the Standing Finance Committee just after the budget. So this was a request by your MPs, opposition MPs, for additional information from the Office of the Attorney General. One question we asked was, provide the amount of fees paid to Attorney General Amo for fiscal 2022. When we asked Amo that question in the Parliament that day, which is not too long ago, when was the budget? In October? Early October. Asked that question, he couldn't answer. He could not answer because he was probably ashamed to tell you how much money he was paid in legal fees in fiscal 2022. I have it here now and I'll share it. We also asked him, is there any other MP who would have received legal fees from the government? If my memory is right, he said, I don't know, I can't see. Maybe Keith Scotland. Well, yes. Mohini likes that coal pot person. Every time we speak here, she reminds us, coal pot. So here it is. The total amount of fees paid to Attorney General, fiscal 2022, for matters for the period June 15, 2020 to February 23, 2022, $1,428 as $1.4 million to Reggie Amo, just on the eve of him becoming the new Attorney General. Any other MP? I think he said maybe Keith Scotland. It says here no other member of Parliament got any fees during fiscal 2020. So he was the only one, and he couldn't remember that because he didn't want to tell us. That was on the eve of Yep. He couldn't remember 1.4 million because probably so many millions over the years. I've shared that with you all before, over the years that he has collected. The other question was a breakdown of monies paid to the Miami law firm. Okay? Remember that famous case that he lied on affidavit in Miami? How much money was paid to the law firm in relation to legal matters, Trinidad and Tobago versus the defendants? And this here tells us $29.324 million. And all of that has gone down the drain because of his lying. The law firm was disqualified from representing Trinidad and Tobago. Over $29 million. And then they say they don't have money, but they have money to do all kinds of other wicked things. They are a lawless government when you look at it. Can't help you. It will not help you. And so I want to ask you a question. Do you know how many persons are in jail now? You have any idea how many persons live in jail? 1.3 million people. That is every one of us. We live behind the burglar bars. You talked just now about CCTV cameras and so on. They are not afraid of the cameras, not afraid of camera. When they come in groups and gangs, and you are left there helpless. And by the time they leave, you are dead. So 1.3 million, the population of TNT, living behind bars, behind your burglar proof when you could afford it. High fence you put up, then you put barbed wire on top of the fence. Yes? Some people put broken bottles on the fence. And those things are not helping you anymore. So I want you to consider that. You know, we think about the crimes and the criminals, the persons in jail, when everybody in this country is living behind bars because of the incompetence of this government. And so we are moving along to one of the highest murder rates for this year of 2022. And they're holding this meeting, I'm telling you, in Hyatt, I think today, Minister Hines, proud of holding a meeting in Hyatt, sipping tea and drinking champagne, I don't know, to talk about crime. Clueless, hopeless, helpless. And so this is a grim record of shame that must be bolted securely to the chest of Keith Rowley. Bolted to his chest. Marsha sent me a little note just now when you spoke about the crime, the shooting that took place outside the Starbucks. And then when you spoke about the travel advisory from the United States. Starbucks is an international chain, is it not? Yes. They will have to report that to their head office in the US. Well, what's going to be the next travel advisory? That's the question. An international chain. All over, people in Starbucks will be reading and hearing about what happened at Starbucks, outside Starbucks in Trinidad. So who cares? MP Paris said the UK has just posted another travel advisory. Okay. Yeah, well, we want to chase them out too. Then you'll get what we said, reverse and minus foreign direct investment. Where we had how many billions every year, it will be reverse. It is, in fact, the record is reverse. 10 million, Damien is reminding me, has gone. Foreign investment draining. So the US has now told us reconsider travel. Rushton has read it. This is what Rowley and Hines has brought this country to. Whilst we're under siege, what are they doing now? They want to talk about legal guns. I spoke about it last week, and I want to repeat this point, you know. In case some people were closing their fridge door and didn't hear me, I want to make it very clear. Very, very clear. So we are under siege. The criminals using illegal guns. Hines and Rowley, what they're focusing on? Legal guns. Want to disarm law-abiding citizens. Now, I want to say, they're now trying to blame law-abiding citizens for murders while they allow the criminals to carry out the assassinations in broad daylight, in crowded areas, in full view of security cameras and so on, and witnesses. Rowley and Hines want to convince us that if they disarm law-abiding citizens, murders will go down. You must take away the illegal guns from people to bring down crime. What you should be doing is to look where the illegal guns are, how they're coming in, deal with the illegal guns. Every time you cry, it's illegal guns, unlawful guns, and then you just want to distract the whole issue and turn it upon people who have a license, a legal license to own a firearm. I said, if you're not happy with that, I told you last week, I remember Kenman, they smiled with me when I said, if you're not happy with that point, don't apply. But those who need it for their businesses, to protect their families, you fill the criteria lawfully. You do proper checks and balances. You don't just pick up a gun and give it to everybody who applies. You must have a proper system to give legal firearms. So in the meantime, the hypocrisy is sickening. I wonder if Hines is prepared to walk anywhere without his armed security. You saw when he went, you all saw it, about 10 men behind him. 10 armed people. And the teachers, what? Overreacted. Yes, but when he walked in, his 10 gunmen with him, legally, legal gunmen. What about Stuart Young? I told you about Stuart Young last week. Rowley Stuart Young still walking around and driving around with all these armed security paid for by the state when he's a minister of energy. What is his risk? Tell us, what is the risk that he must have 2 big vehicles filled with armed security anywhere he goes? So whilst they have security paid for by you, taxpayers, they can't provide security to law-abiding citizens in this country. That's the kind of hypocrisy they have. What are they doing to stop the influx of illegal weapons into the country? They want to criticize the UNC. We have an actual plan to deal with this problem. We have a record of bringing down crime, murder rate every time we've been in office. Under Mr. Pandey, and when the UNC-led partnership was in office, we brought the murders down. We brought it down. And that is why I talked to you about having the need for Ministry of Home Affairs. I see somebody again, they don't listen. They said, Kamala, talk about a Ministry of Home Affairs and split in 2 ministries. That's not what that was. It was just a name change. This is a sea change that will help us deal with crime in the country. It is what we will put under each of these 2 ministries. I talked to you about a Ministry of Home Affairs to deal with security and safety on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago. I talked about a separate Ministry of Defense will deal with borders, or porous borders, deal with customs, deal with immigration and so on. You have these things under the Ministry of Finance. Customs is under finance. Because they only see customs as something about making money. It's so sickening when you see a family come home, they travel a little bit, they bring a little suitcase in customs, boy, and if you by chance have a little chocolate inside there, sorry for you. Or any red line, they go through your suitcase, you have your clothing. There are technological ways now that if it is you're carrying arms or you're carrying illegal drugs and so on, there are ways you can do that without going through every single person's suitcase, putting out their underclothes, pelting it on the ground. Customs under finance about money. Customs is more than that. It is about bringing in illegal arms and ammunition, illegal drugs, and therefore customs should fall under a Ministry of Defense. Or the other one, Ministry of Home Affairs. Those are the things I talked about. But they say Kamala will solve crime by making 2 ministries. Our plan, which I've shared many times in the parliament, outside the parliament, and I'll share again, is not just to create 2, it's 3 ministries. I mentioned 2 last time. The Ministry of Defense, borders and so on, immigration. Ministry of Home Affairs, to deal with on the ground, boots on the ground, security and safety. And I also had, under the partnership, a Ministry of Justice. You remember that? Yes. So you don't have the AG looking after justice, because there's no justice when justice is delayed for years and upon years and upon years. Give the Ministry of Justice its own mandate so they could speed up and do things. When Farris came as a new AG, what I say, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, stand up in that parliament, boasted how much thing he was doing, how many things he would do to increase the speed of justice. Nothing happened. In fact, it is worse now than ever. Worse than ever. So these are the things that we talk about to help us deal with crime, to deal with law and order, to deal with the justice system in Trinidad and Tobago. So we would have Ministry of Defense who will hold and deal with issues as trafficking, terrorism, illegal entry of guns and drugs, focus on proper border protection. A Ministry of Defense would incorporate Defense Force, immigration, customs to handle border control, as well as specific units to deal with terrorist activity would come under this Ministry of Defense. I don't know what's in a name. What's in a name? It's not a name change. I'm talking about serious change, about giving specific portfolio assignments to specific ministries so that they can deal with them. So you cannot have a clueless Minister of National Security dealing with everything for our defense and for our border control. We can't. There is too much. It is much too much. And therefore we need to deal with it. I talked about the Ministry of Justice to deal with the court system, to deal with the goal of getting sentencing done within 60 days, and not leave detained persons languishing in remand yard for years waiting for a trial. They want to bring back this anti-gang and bail bill and whatever. What is their point? They say, listen, if you don't get hearing in 120 days, guess what? You had to no bail until the 120 days. Then maybe you could have. They just want to lock you down. We say, because we are so against the criminals and we are so afraid of the crime, we say, yes, lock them up. I tell you, one day is them and one day it could be you or your child, accused falsely and placed in jail without bail. They can plant things on you. Politicians especially, beware. Remember the Sadiq Bak matters? Remember they planted cocaine inside his tank, his water tank. You have your yard, they could have a man pelt some ammunition or even a firearm in your yard, and then they find it. These kinds of offenses, yes, lock you up in jail without bail when you are totally innocent and you have no time to prove that innocence. So do not get so terrified of the criminals and the crime that you end up, as I say, we are 1.3 million living behind bars in any case, we're in jail. That we end up so terrified that we approve draconian laws in the parliament. I remember they hung Dick down the UNC to support that anti-gang bail bill. I did not support it. We did not support it because we knew it could be used viciously against innocent people. And they got the influencers, the whole elite group to come out and pound the UNC every week in the newspaper, support this bail law, support this law, support this law. We said, okay, if you all are so convinced, we will give it to you, and we gave them the majority. And they're so lying people, they still stand up and say we don't give them special majorities. We gave them the special majority. Farris again in the parliament, we know who they are, we know the gang leaders, we know their names, we know their addresses, we locked them up. What happened? What happened? Nothing. Nothing happened. And you want us to come back and give you that, what you will use and weaponize against innocent people? We are not going to support you. We will not support you. Because you'll use it like you use Nelson Gate to frame innocent people. That is what you do. You get whistleblowers, you pay them millions of dollars to frame any one of us. So we are not going to give you support for draconian law. We will not support you when you come with any draconian law. And you know, the other one I remember, when you see the bellowing, they have the elite people writing in newspapers and so on, you know. We call them influencers. Writing. Armchair politicians. I wonder if one of them ever give a hamper to one person. And if one of them ever went out in a flood water like these councillors and aldermen and MPs. No. But they pontificate and write all the time. You remember something called FATCA? Man, for a year, 2 years, there were no truths in the parliament. support it. They need special majority. They need it. We're on some blacklist. We're on some grey list. We are blacklisted in the world. We'll use something called, what is it, banking? Banking, international banking rights. We would lose that. They say we lose it and they're on us and they get their influence. They got one bank manager come out in the papers, one long story that they got correspondent banking. I remember it now. We will lose correspondent banking. Oh God, the whole country crying frightened because we're on a blacklist. And we have to pass this thing to get off the blacklist. Well, guess what? They say, okay, we'll give you a chance. We gave them the special majority. You know, up to today, we're still on the blacklist. And nobody crying about correspondent banking again. All them bankers shut up now. All those who are out there crying, they will lose. Have you lost correspondent banking? Because we're still on the blacklist. And Faris will come to tell us at AMO, well, tell us, what are you doing to get us off the blacklist? What have you done? So they come, that's a thing we have to notice that they do and pay attention, you know. They come with a point and they stick that point over and over, and then they get their influencers in the media. I'm not saying all the media, but they get persons within to carry their story, sing their song, sing their left foot, right foot song. So I'm not going to support any draconian laws brought by this government. As I say, this man ambushed, killed, entering Starbucks by a gunman, sprayed with bullets in full view of all the cameras that they had there. So criminals have absolutely no fear of the law. The TTPS under the PNM, they don't seem to be afraid of them either. Hines and Rowley have transformed parts of the TTPS into lame duck, a lame duck under their leadership of Jacob, after Rowley illegally caused the president to withdraw the order of merit list. That's how we ended up where we are. We withdrew the merit list, ended up with an acting commissioner. We have more actors in that service commission, in that police TTPS, than you'll find in Hollywood or Bollywood or Nollywood. More actors in the TTPS. At all the ranks, they will not promote the people. You have them acting. Why? Because they want to control every merit list coming out of the service commission. So I see they're nearly at an end. Let's see what happens. The service commission is now saying they're almost at an end in their recruitment process for a new commissioner of police. We await the final result of that. So I want to make it very clear what I said about the guns. I repeat, we will take an approach which favors law-abiding citizens as opposed to criminals. I repeat, any law the PNM brings to make it harder for law-abiding citizens to obtain legal firearms, a new UNC government will repeal it. We will bring legislation to make it easier for law-abiding citizens with the proper checks and balances to obtain firearms. I also repeat for all of you who don't like to hear it, as I said before, you're welcome not to apply for one of those. A government will change the law to make it possible for average citizen of good character who has no criminal background that they can apply for legal firearms. Now, my friends have spoken about flooding already, so I will not talk about it, all the devastating floods that we had to. I would just like to share with you some plans we have to deal with flooding. I had proposed previously, and I propose again, a national physical infrastructure improvement plan to address critical issues such as roads, drainage, public transport. I propose a flood prevention program. Rohan told you what, he will have it done in what? In 5 years. This year, I think the councillors have told me in some areas this is the worst day of floods we've had. And some areas are still under water. So we must have a flood prevention program. It must not be that ex post facto, after the flood, we come and toot and hamper and draining and cleaning and whatever. Can't be. We must have prevention. Our farmers especially continue to suffer because of the lack of support from government. A UNC government will focus on the following. And we did. Remember, they used to call us a box train government? I'm sure some of you wish you had that box train government again. Cleaning and desilting rivers, including the mouths of major rivers. Constructing sediment traps and check dams in the upper reaches of priority water courses, so you have a check dam that can hold the water in check when there is too much water in falling rain. Constructing water detention ponds and repairing levees and placing pumps and floodgates in strategic locations. We'll also train residents and farmers nearest these floodgates and pumps to know how to operate them as well. We used to have floodgates. What has become of them? Tanku will tell us, not working down in that the woodland area in Urupuch. Floodgates, simple thing, a simple thing. You know, Holland, the Dutch people live underwater, but they have put systems in place. We can learn from them. Systems in place to deal with water. They're a waterlogged country. But do you hear flooding like what happens in ours? Don't hear about it because they have things to help. So remove accidental and illegal blockages in watercourses, culverts and bridges. And I heard Anna Ram speak about down in your area. You go in there and take pictures of that and let's see where that river is going and whom is responsible. And ask the corporation there, the Mayaro Corporation. I see Renelle is here tonight. Anybody else from Mayaro? Mayaro Corporation and Grandi Corporation. Go and find out whose building is that. And is it an illegal structure that has blocked up the rivers to cause more flooding? Go and do your jobs. Do your jobs. You went with an excavator, Kenwen or Council with an excavator where? Yes. Come, I want you to tell them this.
We went with the supervisor from Ministry of Works. There they would have placed 90 working hours for the excavator to clear the water course. There the Minister of Works, Mr. Ruan, came down and told the supervisor and myself this was the wrong area that they sent the excavator.
So we'll now have to investigate Minister Rohan. We'll now have to investigate Minister Rohan. So you were doing your work. You got the excavator. And the man actually leave where he was and come down. And what is that yellow? Not UNC. Yeah, but what is the yellow? Is it soil? What is it? All right, what is it blocked with? Huh? So that's what I'm asking, that yellowish thing, if it's dirt, if it's soil. It's a marker. That's where it was. Yeah, I hear you. Okay. So the minister stopped you from clearing the watercourse. Well, we'll have to get Kyle and our other lawyers to look into this matter, please. Check the lawyers, please. Let's look at what's going on here. So removing blockages in watercourses, culverts and bridges, maintaining main, secondary and tertiary drains, and of course increasing drainage capacity. These are some thoughts that I have, and I'm sure many others have thoughts that we can share together. We also have to help the farmers, agriculture insurance protection system. A UNC government will implement an agriculture insurance protection system. Insurance system. So that farmers are covered against loss from flooding or drought and protected from losses from pests and diseases. MP Ratiram spoke to us about the farmers, spoke to us about agriculture tonight. Predia larceny, fire, business interruption, all of these we can have insurance. We have some good insurance people in Trinidad and Tobago. One who is shouting at the top of her lungs right now, and one who's not saying a word. We're sitting there, a lot of good insurance people. So we can, set up a national insurance scheme for protection for our farmers. The PNM is now saying flooding, disasters, and extreme weather events are global issues, is a result of climate change, yet they have done nothing for 7 years. That's the truth of the matter, nothing. Everything now for them is somebody else. There's the war in Ukraine and Putin. It's climate change. Oh yes, don't forget, blame Kamala. Blame Kamala, blame Kamala, blame Kamala. COVID, always blaming someone else and doing nothing themselves. The data from our weather stations show that the average temperature has increased by 0.5 degrees from 1990 to the present over 32 years. So to blame climate change is again false blaming. The average annual temperature was about 26.4 degrees centigrade in the years after 90, about 26.9. Is it centigrade? Celsius, sorry, Celsius. Can I start again, please? The average annual is the same. The average annual temperature, 26.4 in the years after 1990, about 26.9 in the last years before 21. It has therefore increased only slightly by about 0.5% over the past 32 years. So the PNM may be hiding behind an excuse, trying to cover up their own mismanagement, as they always do. The UN Climate Change Conference is currently underway in Egypt. Remember last year, Rowley jetted off to Scotland, where that same conference took place last year, and was being held to talk, guess what, to an empty room. You all remember that? We had the pictures. So I think he wanted to avoid that embarrassment. He didn't go this year. While other Caribbean leaders spoke to packed audiences, there were empty seats when Rowley spoke. Nobody in the world wants to hear from him. Once again, we have proposals to address the issues of climate change, to prepare for the future. I'd spoken to you, and I repeat, about 3 innovative funds to mobilize financial resources to finance programs in our economic transformation master plan. A National Food Security Fund, a National Infrastructure Fund, and a National Climate Trust Fund. These funds will not raise our public debt. I've spoken about these initiatives since 2019. National Climate Trust Fund, we have something known now on our books as a Green Fund. That should be repurposed into a National Climate Trust Fund to finance new green technology startups and provide financial backing we need to create a low-carbon economy. The government should use the $5 billion in that fund to capitalize the Climate Trust Fund. This will attract international grant funding and private sector capital, substantially boosting the pool of funds available for climate-smart investments. My proposal for the National Security Fund, food security, we will invest in land, farms, forestry, and agricultural businesses abroad to give us greater food security. We can invest abroad. Some climate areas, cheap areas where there are cheaper lands. I know even Guyana was offering some lands, but we can invest for the things that we need to eat in our own country. This fund will be wholly owned and be a subsidiary of the HSF fund. Wholly owned and a subsidiary of the HSF. So that this fund can be capitalized by allowing the HSF to invest up to 10% of its total assets in an alternative investments. This will mobilize about US $500 million in capital for National Food Security Fund. When you go home, you'll read it and think about it. It may sound foreign because some of us are not financial people, some of us are not technical people, but it can help us to set up this National Food Security Fund. National Infrastructure Fund, well, I'm sure you know what that is about. Roads, bridges, drains, everything else that we need for infrastructure. Support strategic investments in public transport, green infrastructure, included solar, water, and wastewater facilities, climate-resilient infrastructure, and social infrastructure such as energy-efficient housing projects. This fund will reduce government's need to borrow, will reduce the need to increase taxes to fund major infrastructure projects. And so, of course, we look for private institutional investors as well to help us with this. So these are just some plans very quickly, and you can always go up on our website, Kirk is there, our National Economic Transformation Master Plan, that you can see some more of our plans. Before I close, I have to tell you, we filed the pre-action letter against the PNM, the Rowley PNM, about the postponement of the local government election. I read some of it last week for you. Our lawyers are in the process and will file first thing tomorrow morning. This government seems to be beset with legal matters being brought against them. So we have won for the postponement of the local government election. Today someone sent me, I think Viliana sent me, a pre-action letter issued by concerned citizens in San Fernando about the Todd Street plan of the PNM. So Viliana and others in San Fernando, they're working with the lawyers. Huh? Okay. Okay. I think we are in San Fernando, if I'm not mistaken. Mohini, I think we are in San Fernando. Yeah, so that's another matter that will be filed against them about the Todd Street plans that they have. I'd spoken about it last week. Dr. Monilal has been speaking about it. And now the residents have actually taken action. So we commend them for that. And I'm told that somebody by the name of Karen Nunez Teixeira is filing or has filed an action against the General Secretary of the Rowley PNM with respect to their internal elections. I will not get involved in their business. Let them fight themselves. Our job is to move them out of office, the Rowley PNM. So, delayed local government elections. Now, they have given as their rationale, which is a make-up rationale after the fact, that they want to extend the term limit for local government bodies because 3 years is not enough time for a councillor or alderman to come in and learn what they have to do before they have to face another election. They have nonsense like that. They want you to get an extra year because 3 years is not enough to learn how to be a councillor or learn how to be an alderman. That's what they're claiming, the reason for extending the term by 1 year. So these councillors will come in, learn the system, learn what they have to do, and then they can actually get something done before their term is up. That's their rationale. Nonsense. I don't know what kind of experience they could get you in the 3 years, the 4 years, or 5 under this government, because this is the worst government in history for any local government body or parliament to exist on. It's the worst ever. For 7 years, they have been in government. I don't know what anybody could learn from them from their time besides their incompetence. So this government has no achievements after the 7 years. It's so bad, Rowley has opened a fish market in Karanach 3 times. I don't know, not shut of COVID, but 3 times it's opened this one Karanach fish market. Every year since 2020, Rowley keeps reopening the same fish market. Because after 7 years, what do you have to show? Nothing to show. The PNM, they've done nothing besides line the pockets of friends and family. And the other thing you have to learn under the PNM is how to manage a regional corporation without funds. That's what's happening. No funds for the councillors. They have been managing without funds. If you're not in a PNM control corporation, the only experience you will learn is how to beg people for money and materials and hampers and beg for help because the government is useless. Even in Diego Martin, pressure. So they have absolutely no respect for local government. They will not fund local government. So to pretend that you get an extra year and you'll be very happy for an extra year, again, is total nonsense, more suffering, more stress. I just want to share with you something we did when we were in office. What did we do to help train people? During my term as Prime Minister, my administration didn't just think and talk about training and educating councillors and aldermen to elevate themselves so they can serve at the national level. That is why under the UNC partnership government, we work with the University of the West Indies to develop a Bachelor's of Science program for our councillors and aldermen where they could go and study. They could go study academics behind local government. They could come out with a bachelor's degree. This program was called the BSc in Governance and Local Government. It was created by the Political Sciences Department at UWI in conjunction with the Ministry of Local Government. At my behest, it was approved for applications in 2013 academic term And Mr. Ravi Bhagavan Maharaj is here with us this evening. Let's give him some credit. He was also involved in this process. Because that is a UNC mandate to educate the nation so we can have experts who can learn and train you. We didn't need to add any additional years because we were confident if you entered into local government as a councillor alderman, there would be avenues open for you to learn about the profession, develop and grow, to do your best that you can in local government. And I want to congratulate all the UNC aldermen and councillors. They have been under tremendous stress. They have stepped up to the flood and the repeated floods, and they've repeated their stepping up to help people in their own areas. What has the PNM done with this program then, you would ask me, that we introduced? I've been informed that since they came into office, 2015, this bachelor's program has been taken off the active list of the UWI. So we really want people to train, open back, have this available, have it open so that persons who are interested can go to study. The Ministry of Local Government under the PNM has no interest in promoting this course for the current crop of councillors and aldermen because they have no interest in developing your skills. I have always advocated, you know, that education is the way forward. And so we worked with other stakeholders to create this BSc in governance and local government. That is the way you train, not by extending a person's year. So if you're a bad councillor and a bad alderman, what will happen? You get an extra year to continue being a bad alderman or a bad councillor. The burgesses will not have the opportunity to vote them in or vote them out. You're destroying democracy as always. No respect for democracy in Trinidad and Tobago. So our nation is now at a tipping point. People are asking themselves how much more we have to bear from this rowdy PNM. Everyone except the PNM's family and friends and financiers, everyone else is suffering, everyone else is living behind bars. The crime problem out of control. The Prime Minister, we told you, and you saw the pics go engulfing. Economy collapsing, infrastructure, everything is collapsing in this country. We're in a total collapse state. And what do we hear from them? West Indies cricket. After 2 weeks of pip and silence, come out to lecture about West Indies cricket. Shameless people. I know it is difficult to remain optimistic in these dark and difficult times, but I urge you always, as I do, never ever lose hope. Never ever give up. The UNC is growing from strength to strength. I mentioned to you the opening of the office in La Brea. Who would have thought we would have an office open in La Brea? Again, I congratulate Victor. And many persons turned out to that opening in La Brea on Thursday. So the UNC is not just focused on the seats which we have in Parliament. Yes, we focus on those. We don't have La Brea, so we will work in La Brea, we'll take La Brea. We don't have San Fernando West, we'll work in San Fernando West, we'll take San Fernando West. Together we all deserve a better nation. We will fight together. I always ask you, let us join hands, and tonight I ask you to give me your hand. Give me your hand again. Let us join hands, let us hold hands. Let us put God in front, walk behind, and victory will come to us. I thank you, and God bless you.